Hey folks, welcome back to Game Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today, we finally got a response from Krafton. It is pretty lengthy. We're just going to take a piece of it, and I will make sure to link this down below so that you can take a whole look at it yourselves. But, man, last video, if you want to watch that, I'll link that down below as well. But I wasn't on Krafton's side, right, because of the whole thing with Callisto Protocol and striking distance. And that was actually, too, we're finding out, a pretty expensive project. But man, this response is actually pretty damning. So this is the actual real documentation right here. This is why I like Shack News. They actually have links to all of this stuff, which is great. And again, it's pretty lengthy. It's 102 pages, but we're just going to read a small piece of this. Let's see. So seeing massive potential in the company and Subnautica franchise, Krafton paid $500 million, which is insane, for 100% of Unknown World's outstanding shares. There was an additional payment of up to $250 million in the coming 4 years, if they led successful development of Subnautica 2 and other games. So again, this is not just for Subnautica 2. This was for basically projects afterward for the next 4 years. And the idea is that they would get that $250 million in 4 consecutive quarters before June 2026. So there's still a possibility this can actually be paid out, but I think Krafton wants to delay it past June of 2026 because they don't believe that it's ready. So yeah, these conditions, they were memorialized by the EPA itself and were designed to protect Krafton's extraordinary investment in key employees and keep them at Unknown Worlds at the helm. The plan quickly unraveled, having sold the company, Cleveland and McGuire, who each pocketed $200 million apiece from the sale, and Gill, who received $60 million, quickly lost interest in development of Subnautica 2. Cleveland and McGuire abandoned their roles as studio-wide game director and technical director to focus on their personal passion projects and quit making games for Unknown Worlds entirely, and Gill, who remained, focused on leveraging his operational control to maximize the earn-out payment rather than developing a successful game. Man, that's crazy. Quote, folks think Max and Charlie are checked out as studio heads and are confused as to why. That doesn't sound good. 2024 and 25, Cleveland stated that he was not actually working on Subnautica 2 and was no longer working on games, but working on a couple of films, end quote. For his part, McGuire stated working on initiatives that fall outside of the company's main development activities, stating that his priority was to, quote, try something that feels personally meaningful to me. Gill remained as Unknown World's president and CEO, but without the original creators, Subnautica 2 suffered serial development delays under his watch. The game was originally slated for Q1 of 2024, which slipped to December of 24, then to Q1 of 25, and then ultimately, basically now, to 2025. An internal assessment of the first playable in March of 24 made clear that the team had failed to deliver on their promise of developing sufficiently new content, but rather than roll up their sleeves and make the game they had promised, the key employees blamed others and overhauled the team. By September of 24, the release had been pushed back even further in 2025, and as the planned release was delayed, the key employees continued to reduce the scope of the game. So yeah, this is horrible. And again, all of this is probably shared that, normally wouldn't have been if there actually wasn't a lawsuit against Krafton. And so Krafton is pulling out some stuff to work on, defend themselves. The Krafton CEO warned to key employees that a premature early access release of a highly anticipated sequel like Subnautica would cause irreversible harm to the entire IP franchise, pointing to the sequel of Kerbal Space Program as a prime example. But as the end of the earn-out period drew near, the game was still nowhere near its planned scope. Instead, as of late of March of 25, only 2 months before the key employees claimed the game was ready for the first early release, the development lead for Subnautica 2 at Unknown Worlds noted that the first EA and second EA, planned for December 25, would only be about 12% of our intended 1.0 scope. A joke that, quote, at this rate would be in development for 30 years. The key employees became desperate. Key employees would miss out on 4 quarters of consecutive revenue they needed to maximize their earnout, which expired in June of 2026. So yeah, basically they had to release the game in June of 25, which we're already past that. So yeah, that's not going to happen. Isn't this a mess? I mean, and the thing that I think was pretty big, I was listening to Hypnotic on this, and man, he's got an awesome point. I mean, we're looking at $250 million a piece. Oh my word. And then Gil, who ended up just leading the project while the other two seemed to just screw around and do whatever, had $60 million. And see, it wasn't an incentive. I mean, it was retirement. Imagine getting $60 million. I mean, you're just not motivated anymore. It's the same too with, we used to see in the early 2020s a lot of content creator contracts, worth millions or tens of millions of dollars for stream and YouTube and Kick. And, we don't see those anymore. And again, it's because, you get the money first and then you're like, well, I made it. What's the point of doing anything anymore? And I think, too, that's just the human condition for everybody. But, yeah, the incentive was gone. And then an additional $250 million, which they would get most of, we covered that earlier, that wasn't enough. Because they already had $200 million apiece. Holy smokes. And it really sounds like they just didn't care about the development of their game. Now, usually, I'm certainly with the studio, the studios on this, and I blame the publishers because we have EA, we have Activision, we have Blizzard, we have, Sony, PlayStation Studios Publishing, and all of that. It's just like, man, what are some of these people doing? It's kind of ridiculous. And Xbox Publishing as well. But man, this time, I mean, if they can prove all of this in a court, good gravy. I'm on Krafton's side for this one. I mean, yeah, this really doesn't sound very good, and it sounds like the leads at Unknown Worlds just completely dropped the ball. They had already made it and crossed the finish line. They're also getting older. They're running out of time as they age and wanted to focus on something else. And the fact, too, that stuff was documented. Like, you can go look at things online and maybe even use the Wayback Machine if you need to be like, yeah, we're focusing on film. And then even the employees are like, yeah, we're confused. Like, where are you guys? What's going on? So yeah, this is pretty damning, and I don't know if Subnautica 2 is going to be okay. Because if it's only 12% of its intended scope from the beginning, that is insane. That's not a game. And Gil's right. Like, we're not going to receive that very well, even for early access. It's going to be an extremely underbaked game. And first impressions, more than ever, are pretty important. So, yeah, that is just crazy. Again, this is linked down below if you want to actually take a look at this yourself. But yeah, this is wild. Yeah, this whole thing, their response is 102 pages. So, of course, I'm not going to read it all. But yeah, this is pretty fascinating. And yeah, if they can prove all of this in court, man, the studio heads that technically no longer work there, which this is laid out, too, in the document that Krafton wants to bring them back. They still want the original creators to come back and make the game. And it's stated, at least the top dogs that made $200 million, they're like, yeah, we basically don't really kind of want to come back. And it's like, what? Like, you don't want to come back to your game? And said, there's no coming back to a job they didn't have, Cleveland explained. Yeah. I don't know, man. This is a huge mess. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm excited for the game. I'm excited, too, for the co-op and multiplayer aspects of the game. But holy smokes, this is awful. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, folks. You can always follow me at GamingGarbage22 over at YouTube. And you can also, don't forget our playlist. We have a bunch of stuff there. And if you've enjoyed the content, go ahead and share it for me. That really helps me out as a small channel. Also, too, you can follow me over at Twitch if you'd like. And, yeah, when I'm playing video games, I'll go ahead and chat with you guys in the chat. But, yeah. This is wild, man. This is a mess. And I think this really puts Subnautica 2 at risk for being delayed or being canceled because, I mean, from the sounds of it, most of it's not even made anyway. They've already had years of development. It's going to take several more years to just finish the game at this point. And this would be like a next-gen release title, right? And then since it's delayed, it really doesn't look that great on next gen, or the quality isn't there compared to other games. Yeah, I think really no way they slice this. This really turns out super well for Subnautica 2. I mean, they'd really have to bust A to get stuff done and get it out there. So, yeah, this is that's shocking. And that's disappointing too to hear that. So hopefully that's not the case, but yeah, we'll see how this lawsuit goes. I will keep you guys up to date. And with that, folks, we'll see you guys on the next one.